Picture this: 1.2 million men willing to die for their country, but their own country wouldn't even let them use the same bathroom. This is the story of how black soldiers fought fascism abroad while their own government waged war against them at home. And what they did about it changed America forever. When the Selective Training and Service Act became law in September 1940, it was the first peacetime draft in American history. Civil rights leaders pressured President Franklin D. Roosevelt to let black men serve. But here's the thing: FDR's Secretary of War, Henry Stimson, wasn't interested. He had no intention of integrating the military. But with Europe burning and Japan on the horizon, Roosevelt made a calculation. He'd allow black men to register for the draft. But they would stay segregated. The military would decide how many got in. It was a compromise that spelled out the tragedy to come. Discrimination didn't wait for soldiers to reach Europe. It started the moment they stepped on an American base. According to historical military records, every single branch of the armed forces enforced Jim Crow segregation. Separate blood banks, separate hospitals, separate barracks. Black soldiers faced racial slurs from white officers, harassment from local white residents, and a system designed to humiliate them daily. The worst part? They were treated like animals. That's not hyperbole. Documented accounts from black soldiers describe being in what they called slave-like conditions. The military hierarchy made a decision. Black men weren't fit for combat, they weren't fit for leadership, so they relegated them to labor units, cooks, mechanics, building roads, digging ditches, unloading supplies. That's what 1.2 million men were told their value was. But then something remarkable happened. Black newspapers, particularly the Pittsburgh Courier, the largest black newspaper in America with 350,000 readers, decided to expose the hypocrisy. In January 1942, a 26-year-old defense worker named James G. Thompson wrote a letter to the Courier's editor. The letter was titled, "Should I Sacrifice to Live Half American?" In it, Thompson asked a question that haunted the nation. How could he fight and die for democracy when he wasn't even treated like a full American citizen in his own country? The Pittsburgh Courier seized on Thompson's words. On February 7, 1942, they launched the WWII campaign. The symbol was two V's topped by an eagle. The first V stood for victory abroad over fascism. The second V stood for victory at home over racism and segregation. The message spread like wildfire. Within weeks, the Courier reported recruiting 200,000 WWII members. At the time, one of the largest black organizations in America. 88% of the Courier's readers supported the campaign. Songs were written, events were organized. The campaign forced America to confront an unbearable contradiction. They were fighting a war for democracy while denying democracy to their own soldiers. And the black soldiers themselves, they kept demanding to fight. By August 1944, as white casualties mounted, the military had no choice. They deployed black soldiers to the front lines. The Red Ball Express, a unit of mostly black truck drivers, delivered gasoline, ammunition, food, and medical supplies to General George Patton's Third Army across France. These men drove up to 400 miles through the dead of night without headlights, trying not to be detected by the Germans. Any mistake meant death. The 761st Tank Battalion became the first black division to see ground combat in Europe. They joined Patton's Third Army in November 1944 and spent 183 days in combat. They liberated 30 towns. They fought in the Battle of the Bulge. They proved that the military's doubts about black soldiers weren't just wrong, they were a catastrophic waste of human potential. Then there were the Tuskegee Airmen, an all-black fighter pilot group trained at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. These pilots flew 1,600 combat missions over Italy and Sicily. They destroyed 237 German aircraft on the ground and 37 in the air. Not a single bomber they escorted was ever lost to enemy fighters. Let that sink in, 100% success rate. And yet the white press rarely mentioned them. But here's where the story becomes truly painful. When these soldiers came home after September 2nd, 1945, they walked off those ships into violent mobs. White Americans resented seeing black soldiers in uniform. They saw them as a threat to the social order of Jim Crow. Some soldiers were attacked. Many were denied the GI Bill benefits they had earned, benefits that provided tuition assistance, job placement, and home loans that were building post-war America for white veterans. One soldier, Isaac Woodward, was on his way home when police in South Carolina pulled him off a bus and beat him so severely he lost his sight. And then he was charged with starting the incident. That was the welcome home these men received. President Harry Truman saw what was happening. Truman later said his stomach turned when he learned that Negro soldiers were being dumped out of Army trucks in Mississippi and beaten. In July 1948, Truman signed an Executive Order 9981, officially desegregating the U.S. Armed Forces. But full integration didn't happen until the Korean War. Here's what you need to understand. 1.2 million black soldiers fought and died for a country that treated them as less than human. They did it anyway. They bled for democracy they weren't allowed to fully experience. They proved themselves on every battlefield. And in doing so, they planted the seeds for the civil rights movement that would transform America. James G. Thompson, the 26-year-old who wrote the letter that sparked the WWII campaign, went on to serve with the 2,257th Quartermaster Truck Company in the India-Burma Theater. He served with honor. He came home to a segregated America. But his words started a movement. This is why we tell these stories, because their sacrifice demands to be remembered, not as footnotes, but as central to understanding how America became what it is today. Like this, comment what shocked you most, subscribe to this History TV, and share this with everyone who thinks they know American history. Because if we don't tell these stories, who will? We uncover what history buried.